say this. I set goals for years and years, decades even, and never really saw any results from it. And it's because setting a goal is very different from just really wanting something. They are two different things. One is it's just locked on the inside of us. It may be realistic, it may not be, but the other is that's where the graft is, that's where the hard work is. And of course, we're going to be touching on the things tonight that are where the hard work is. And I don't expect anybody to take everything I say and apply every single thing, but some of it will jump out at you, some of it will speak to you. And if you take it and you run with it, it will deliver. It's an inevitability. It's not, will it make a difference? No, absolutely it will, without any question. Not because I'm anything special as a speaker and a trainer, though obviously I do my best, but because these things are just true. It's that simple. And so what you should see on your screen right now is 10 habits that successful people quit. These things can be habits in our lives, and a habit is a subconscious operation. It's something we do without thinking. And part of coaching, when I coach people, is to bring an awareness that we start to become aware of our subconscious thoughts and our subconscious habits. And once we're aware, we can do something about changing them. The first one that successful people give up on is staying in their comfort zone. They don't work in their comfort zone. And there is something in us that it's just the way that we're wired. We don't want an uncomfortable bed. We want a comfortable bed. I don't want to sit in my living room in an uncomfortable chair. I want to be in a comfortable chair. And I think that's fine. But when we're working, at least some of what we're doing has to be outside our comfort zone. Because when I work in my comfort zone, I'm doing what I've always done. And if I'm doing what I've always done, I can't get what I've never had. You know, that's a good one to take home. If you do what you've always done, you won't get what you've never had. So there's got to be some areas, and you know, just was shared just now, is you get that enthusiasm, you get that energy, you get that vision, it lets you push outside of that. So don't be afraid as you move forward that some of this doesn't feel comfortable. Give it time, it will become comfortable, and then you'll push again because you want more and you want to go further. The second one that they don't do is they don't do anything without first learning. They don't do without first learning. Sometimes our enthusiasm and our excitement causes us to jump too soon. And I agree with the saying, grow your wings on the way down. But make sure you've got some wings to grow. So there is a time where we can spend too long before we start our business or we start our project. But you need to understand it. If you're going to do an educational charity, as we heard about earlier, you know, you've probably learned more since you started that than before you started it, certainly, but my experience in education is that. But you need to do your homework first. So investigate your market if you're starting a business. Find out what other people do, or you know, if you want to lose weight or get fit, what have other people done? Do the homework. Get good first before you launch. Something else that they don't do, and this, just because you're a boss doesn't mean you're a leader. And a true leader, a truly successful person is never afraid to take advice. Some leaders, some real innovators. I heard a very successful person say the other day, I've never had a good idea. But it hasn't stopped them being successful because they take the advice of people who are experts in their field. Being successful doesn't mean that we know everything. Being successful means we know what it is that we're good at, and then we complement ourselves with people who can cover us where we're weak. So never be afraid to ask for advice, no matter how good you get. I was reading an interview with a billionaire recently, and this guy doesn't take on clients anymore. That's how successful he is. And he was asked, you know, what's one of the reasons for your success? And he says, I truly believe I do not know it all, and I need to learn everything I can. And this is a guy who's been a success for 40 years. So with your breakfast every morning, always have a bite of humble pie. It really does do
Can we know?
us good. Number 4, sorry,
Can we know his name?
was that you, Bookie?
Yes, it is. This is Bookie.
No, because I can't remember it. I will have to go back and look it up for you.
Okay.
He runs a hedge fund, one of the biggest hedge funds in the world, and he's never lost money in over 30 years.
Okay.
His fund has never ever lost money, and you can read all of that. I tell you a book. I mean, if this isn't your
Is
style,
it
forgive me.
Warren Buffett?
No, it's not actually. It's but so he's in that field,
Okay.
and
Okay.
to,
Thank you.
Tony Robbins has written a book on finances, the finance game, and he interviews him in there. And to be honest, it's a book that I would recommend. I find the attitude and that in there, I found it really, really helpful.
Okay.
So if you wanted to look it up, but yes, that's not in my notes. That just came off the top of my head, and
No,
I confess my fault to you. I'm terrible with names,
no problem.
but I can look it up later. A problem number 4 I've never had, because I'm a generalist, is don't get lost in small detail. When you don't sweat the small stuff. Decide where it is you want to get and sort the small things out on the way. Sometimes we can use small detail as an avoidance. So oh, I can't change my eating plan now. I can't take on this new eating lifestyle because I've still got loads of that food left. No, that's just avoidance, you know. Or I haven't actually got my head round the science of how calories burn on a Wednesday night. No, that's avoidance. So beware of small detail. Don't let it bog you down, and don't use it for avoidance. You can always sort that out as you go. And a number 5, that's one that Mark is having to deal with at the moment, is really successful people don't multitask. And there's been quite a few studies done on this. We all know that women generally multitask better than men. That's probably because God loves you more and he gave you more connections between your left and right brain. But multitasking, other than when you're cooking the dinner, sorting out the children, you know, if you're in that traditional set, multitasking in our careers doesn't work. We need to get focused and stay within our strength zone. John Maxwell says again and again and again, he says, develop your strengths and cover your weaknesses. So, you know, if you're not a numbers person, make sure you can add up, make sure you can read your accounts, but then get someone who's good to do your numbers. Don't try and do everything. Don't multitask. Get focused and stay on that, and you'll find that you get a much bigger return for your energy investment. So that's the first 5. Second 5, I tell you, we could do a whole evening on this one, on number 1 on the right-hand side of your screen. Successful people don't lie to themselves. I say to people, you can lie to me, I might believe you. You can lie to God, he won't believe you. But whatever you do, don't lie to yourself, because once we start lying to ourselves, if it becomes an established neural pathway, we start to believe the lie. And the problem with that is when we hit difficulties, we place the responsibility or the blame, if you like, somewhere where it doesn't belong. We can never progress in our lives until we take responsibility for them. I think that's probably the biggest lesson, or one of the biggest lessons I've learned in life. You know, we're all believers here, as far as I know. We all follow Jesus Christ. So, you know, we know that no matter how successful we are in this life, it's not the be all and end all. You know, there is going to be a new heavens and a new earth. You know, the whole gospel is about new creation. And so maybe you'll get really to the top of your game, maybe you won't. But it's okay for things to fail. It's okay for things not to work. And when they don't, be ruthlessly truthful, because that means you will grow. And that's what we need to keep doing, is we keep growing. It is okay to get it wrong. It is okay to fail. Again, this links back to the humility thing. And I honestly believe the measure of success in life is how much we grow as a person, not how much we grow our bank accounts. Of course, we want to be financially independent. Nothing wrong with that. But the real riches is in how much we grow. The next thing successful people don't do, they quit in procrastination, particularly in the area of asking for feedback. Why would we be nervous about asking for feedback? Well, because when it's negative, it's a criticism, and none of us like it. But if Tulu had gone out with his cakes and everything at Christmas, and then he starts making the Valentine's call, and no one is answering the phone, and they're avoiding him, and they won't catch his eye when he sees them out, what's going on? And that's why successful businesses, they send out feedback forms. How did you like it? How did you feel we served you? Because if nobody likes your cake, then you need to adjust your cake. But we can't do that without getting the feedback. So when you get the negative feedback, when somebody gives a negative review, take it, because it can help you more than the successful ones. Because when you hit a bump in the road, it's not the end of the story. You reassess, you adjust, and you move on. I was thinking about number 3 on the right-hand side of your screen this afternoon, and I was tempted to change it, but it was a bit too late in the day, and because I don't want this one to be misunderstood. Successful people don't follow, they lead. But successful people definitely respect other leaders and don't mind following good leaders. And I think the way I would perhaps adjust that with, now I've had more time to think about it, is the sense that successful people don't follow is this: they don't wait for permission to move forward. And I see this a lot when I talk to people. I don't know whether it's a throwback to childhood or growing up in maybe a church that's too heavy-handed, but they look for permission. And no one's going to give it to you except you. In fact, I think we did a thing on this last year, where I said, I give you permission to go and be successful. And sometimes people bring offerings to pastors and things like that because they're looking for this mysterious blessing that will let them move forward. And 9 times out of 10, all they need is to give themselves permission to go and do it. Just have the courage to let go and step out. You've done your homework, you've learned what you're going to learn, you've assessed your risks. Now just do it. Don't wait to follow someone out there, because on that one there is no one to follow. You're the leader of your life. Even though we have people around us that we may follow or respect their authority, we're still the ones who lead our lives. No one else does that unless we give it away, and that's something we should never do. We saw how that went in Genesis chapter 3. Number 4, that's another huge one. We could do a weekend on this one. We could just hire a hall and get together. Successful people do not let their past dictate their future. Well, I had this really good business, and I had this, or I had a marriage and I ended up being divorced, I went bankrupt. Well, tough things happen. Life is really, really difficult. But that is not a prophecy, it's just something that happened. So do not, if you have things behind you that didn't go how you wanted, or you think you weren't as wise as you should have been, or you were just plain wrong, that's okay. That's fine. Yesterday ended last night. What you choose to do today is what will dictate your future. That is the key. Is what your choice is today is what is going to determine your future. And the final one is they don't hang around negative people. There are people in our lives that we love and we care for, and maybe they're not as positive or as envisioned as they could be. That's fine. But we don't have to eat at their table. As one preacher said, you can't stop the birds flying over your head, but you sure as anything you can stop them nesting in your hair. there are conversations. We're just not going to become a part of that because you feel it. You know, you're at work sometimes and you get talking to someone and you feel that downward spiral in the conversation. And it's a bit like it says in Proverbs, you know, these tasty morsels. No, it pollutes us. It drags us down. Maybe not physically, but very often you can see it in the body language afterwards. So we just don't go there. We're successful people, and that's not something we do. So when we come to the new year, many people, it's about, I'm giving this up, I'm giving that up. Well, here are 10 things. You choose which one's for you. There's some things that you can quit, and you'll be all the better for it. You really will. And we can. Does anybody want to ask a question on that one? Bear in mind, I think we are being recorded, so keep it short. But we can talk about that before we move on to the next screen. Perhaps put it up on the message thing, and I can come back to it. And then Bucky, if you want to bring up the next screen, that would be great.
Okay, I just have.
Hi.
Oh, okay. Sorry, you go then.
Just wanted to say thank you. This is really, really useful. It's amazing how, as you were speaking, you start to reflect and you can see certain places where you say, you know, it's that moment. So thank you. The other thing I wanted to ask is, I'm unable to see your screen, so jotting quite a lot of notes. Would it be possible to share the slides?
Of course,
Bucky?
I will be sending the slide and the recording, so if you want to.
I've
got everyone's.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is yes, it's I don't know how, but it's almost, it was meant to be.
Oh.
If I can say it that way. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm back on mute.
Okay, no problem. What I was going to add to that was, when you said they don't let the past dictate their future, you know, a lot of us, we stay in that, oh, well, this is what I've done, especially when the event has actually occurred several times. So you tend to say, well, this is what I am, this is who I am, you know, I can't move past this, it's only going to happen again. So if someone is in that scenario, situation, how do you break away? I know you said, okay, let's quit all these behaviors and thoughts and all of that.
Yeah.
How do you come out of that? That would be my question.
That is a really, really good question. There isn't a specific thing that I can bring on, because everybody is different. But all of us will have things in our lives where one that's really common is your body weight, and so you lose a few stone and then you gain some plus some, and we go around the mountain again and again. And what happens is exactly what Bucky said, is we then make that our identity. Now, the reality is, if you don't like it, it's not really who you are. Now, society might want you to believe that, the mirror might want you to believe that, dysfunctional thinking might want us to believe that, who knows, even the devil might want us to believe that, but it's just simply not true. The fact that you have that desire to change shows us that it's not really who you are. The reason we go back to it and these things reoccur is because we haven't yet grasped the right thinking to take us somewhere else. And in neuro-linguistic programming, there's a thing called a toward and an away from. And we're going to go a little bit off here, but we'll come back. But this is something, when I learned this, I found it very, very helpful. If we stick with the body weight, because I'm going to mention mine later, because that's part of my journey, is if you're running away from being overweight, the way, or anything, you running away from not having enough money, running away from feeling insignificant, anything you're running away from, it's a bit like those goofy horror movies where you've got the teenager running away from the zombies, and the teenager is in running shoes going full pelt, and as I understand it, I'm not an expert in these things, but zombies don't walk very fast. But what happens? The zombie always catches them. And when we're running away from an issue, because somehow it is a part of us, we're attached to it, even though it's not who we truly are, the thing just comes with us. And one of the answers is to go for a toward, not an away from. I'm not trying to get away from being overweight. I'm moving towards being healthy. And it sounds like I'm splitting hairs, but it's a completely different part of your brain. And I would, you know, if you're on your own at home at the moment, so people don't think you're crazy, just be sensitive and you say, and even just say it. So you say, oh, I'm trying to get away from being poor. I'm moving into wealth. You'll hear that you can't say them with the same tone of voice because they come from a different place. One, you know, I'm trying to get away from being poor. I'm moving towards wealth. And it's a different chemistry in your body. So that's one thing. The next thing is when you come round again and you're back in the same position, go easy on yourself, but don't surrender. So be honest, don't lie to yourself. Okay, clearly I didn't understand as much as I thought. I didn't have the learning, but I'm not dead yet. So I'm going to keep going and I'm going to keep learning. And maybe I'm going to go back over some of the things. You know, when you lost that weight, what did you do then? How did you do it? The chances are, unless you're doing a crazy crash diet, you joined Slimming World, you got onto Weight Watchers, you did something sensible, and it worked. Why did it stop working? Did the laws of chemistry suddenly change and foods react differently in our body? Probably not. Probably the reason we put the weight back on is because we stopped doing what was giving us the success. So the question then is, why did I stop? What caused me to let that go? So these are the, and we would have to spend longer on this, but these are the areas we want to press into. What it always boils down to is it's a thinking issue. I'm just not thinking right yet. And once I learn to think right in that area, I will then see success. And for me, I'm convinced that works right across the board. And because we're all growing and we're all learning, we will all have areas where we come back in. And I don't know if you're like this, but I come back at levels deeper as well. You think you're through an area or you think you've forgiven, and then you come to a place and you go, oh, wow, and you see it on another level. And I think that's completely normal. And the challenges in life, I think, stay much the same as we grow. We just deal with them on a bigger level or on a deeper level, which allows a more foundational change in our lives.
Excellent.
Does that help at all, Bookie?
Yes, it does. And if I was to just add a little bit to that, when you start on the left-hand side, you have the don't do without first learning. Well, I'll take that back to career. So some of the people that, you know, they say, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't get a good job, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Predominantly from my African background, people want to earn quick money. So we don't take that due diligence to learn. So obviously what happened is they find themselves in that same situation back again. And that goes to, you know, it would dictate, you know, their past, they let their past dictate their future. We haven't done that learning to understand why do I keep falling. So you get into a career, you get kicked off because why? You don't know enough. You don't know well enough. And I put my hand up. I've been there, done that. You know, you just want to get into, you want to get into IT contracting. I started years ago, and trust me, it was bumpy, you know, until I actually sat down, do the learning, get the understanding, get the knowledge, and I can confidently say, I actually know what I'm doing. So it's just, all the points here kind of tied back together in some way, if we were to look at it critically.
Absolutely, absolutely. And on the learning one, I would say to people, find your subject, find the career you want to go into or the area you want to grow, and then read a book a month. Because we say, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't afford this. I said, well, you can probably afford a book a month. After 3 years, your learning level will be the same as a degree, if not higher, to be honest with you. And so just, just keep learning, keep learning. I can't encourage that enough. And that fits with this next screen, that small steps they are the great success secret. It's not bringing in something massive. Massive change is the result of consistent small steps. And so if I like, well, I have a walk, I love to do it in my area. I live in the countryside, and it's about 5 miles. And that 5-mile walk is made up of lots and lots of small steps. If I stop at any time, I'll lose the big result, the 5-mile walk. But as long as I keep taking the small steps, I will get the big result. And so there's a couple of things there. You know, if you invest £5 a day over 40 years, you know, you can become a millionaire on what most people spend on coffee. And it is a fact, but very often we resist these because they take discipline. It takes, you know, this small consistent steps over time, and they're what bring the big results. You know, we were talking about weight loss. If you eat 250 calories less a day, all right, that's less than a Mars bar. You're going to lose nearly 2 stone in a year. And so it's these small consistent actions that deliver us the big results. And this is taking us into looking at our average perfect day. So we go to the next slide, please, Bookie. Let me tell you how to.
Mark, we've got the financial specialist, Mr. Murele, online, and I'm sure he can back you on that. Becoming a millionaire in 40 years.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he can.
I don't think I've got 40 years, Mark.
That's how the banks make their money.
I ain't got
£5 a day is a lot of money. Don't £5 a day is a lot of money. I hope you know that.
Yeah.
It is.
Oh yes, I do, brother. I've learned to abase and to abound, but I also know what people spend. And part of, you know, I say to people, you know, just cancel half your Sky subscription, use a 2-year-old telephone, and you'll become a millionaire.
Wow. Just like that. Okay.
Yeah. Over time. Over time, and that.
God. That's the thing.
I
we want it now, don't we? We want it now, like yesterday. You know.
Absolutely. You know, and God is a farmer. It's the seed. You know, you plant, you water, and over time you harvest. And that is the key. We're not going to become outstanding. You know, I'm pretty good as a public speaker, and you know, generally people are pleased to hear me, and I can help people. But that's 30-odd years of experience. And that, you know, I can look back and I can tell you stories where I bombed completely. And it's, you know, I just really did. You do your time. And people very often aren't prepared to do their time.
I'm just being real, Mark. I'm just being real. You know what I'm saying? 40 years is a long time.
Absolutely. Yes, it is. It is. But if you take... I hope you all make your fortunes or achieve your goals and make your dreams in a quicker time than that. But if you took a young person of 20 and you could sort of give them a brain transplant and just get them to look at what they do with their money, for example, by making a small change. You know, I show some of my clients how to, you know, saving up to £500,000, but certainly to save 50 to £100,000 by small changes over a period of time. That is going to have a big impact. We can improve our lives in the moment because the quality of our life is determined by what we feel. So you can change your life in 30 seconds. That's for sure. But you're not going to make £5 million in 30 seconds. Not honestly, anyway.
Yeah, unless you're
that it just does not work like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Unless you're what?
Yeah.
Just ignore me.
And I think don't write that down, people. I think one of the difficulties is when people start to learn about personal growth, very often it's because we get to a point of pain, and you know, we just don't like this pain anymore. We want change, and there are things that we can work in our life that bring quick and massive change. They do, but they take effort. But there are other things that there is no shortcut. You know, it took me 3 years to gain 6 stone in weight. I'm not going to lose that 6 stone in a month. It's just not going to happen. It took me a long time to get that unhealthy. It was a big investment, you know, and for the record, I'm halfway there, you know, but it takes time, and that's
Mark,
where we find out how much we want something.
Mark, I'm sorry, this is Kemi. Can I say something about what
Please
you were
do,
talking
Kemi.
about, the time factor? So on the way
Yeah.
to church on Sunday, I told my husband, oh, I've missed so, and I look forward to seeing him. So when we got into church, I actually saw him, and I said, oh, I was just telling my husband that I looked forward to seeing you. And my husband was like, oh, she actually said that. So anyway, me and this gentleman, we got talking, and I am in every way better educated than he is, and in every way I have had more opportunities as he has had. But what struck me so much was his consistency. So we were talking about something. My pastor preached a message which was so on point and relates to what you said about having negative people in your life and how you don't have to dwell with their negativity, that people can be your friends and family, but you don't have to stick it through with them, in terms of you don't have to let the negativity affect you. Yes, so I and this gentleman, we got talking, and he's never held a like maybe fantastic job before in the UK, but he's managed to like run his own business on the side, and now he's doing it full time. And he had spoken to me years ago, sorry, this is so long, I don't know how to summarize, about being wanting an architect. So anyway, we got talking, and I knew he had completed one property in Nigeria, but we got talking on Sunday, and he told me, actually, I'm building my 3rd house now. And he showed me the pictures, and I'm like, oh, how did you manage to achieve all this? And he said, over time, that this plot of land I'm developing, it's in a nice area in Lekki, which is a highbrow area in my country. And he said, I bought the plot of land 10 years ago. I said, but you had a vision for it. He said, yes. And now he's building his 3rd property in my country. I don't have a small, what do you call it? A small hut in my country, yes? But this man has achieved so much by consistently, over time, saving, having a vision, having a goal, working towards it. And I'm so, so impressed by what he's done. So it's everything you said about starting small and consistency over the years. Yeah.
It is. It's. I think you may have heard me tell the story about the woman who. It's just a completely made-up story, but she builds the little hut for her and her children. She's a widow, and the only problem once she finished was on the plot was a massive tree outside the house. You know that. You know, you measure this thing and it's 18, 20 feet around, and all she has is this little hand axe. And you think, how is she ever going to get that tree down? Because it's a threat to their home. And the story is simply this, is you look at it to start with and you think, she's never going to bring that tree down. But what she does is every morning when she gets up, the first thing she does is she goes out and she takes 5 swings at the tree. She doesn't even break a sweat. And then she goes in, puts the axe down, goes about her day. Next morning she gets up, she goes out, she takes 5 swings, comes back in. Is that tree going to come down? It's an inevitability. It will. It might not be tomorrow, it might not be the day after, but it will come down. And it is that consistency. Its consistency is, I don't know if there is a key to success. I'm not sure there is. But without consistency, you can't make it. But with consistency, you can work with not very much and what looks a lot less to most people. But over time, you end up more with all of them combined, because you just work that power of consistency. And the thing with consistency is it demands discipline and it demands character, and it's growing in these areas to get the results that we desire. And and I'll bring it back to the screen in front of you, because I think they go together. How do we try and fail? Take the little woman with the tree, a massive unsustainable action. She goes out and tries to bring that tree down in one go. She's going to fail. She's going to get hurt. And people start their New Year's resolutions and they want to put the past behind them, and they bring in unsustainable actions. And I put January the 14th. Apparently, I heard this week the average is actually January the 8th is when most people have abandoned their New Year's resolution. Because, you know, say, well, I need to get fit, so I'm going to walk 5 miles every day. No, you're not. No, you're really not. Start with 2 miles 3 times a week. Build from there, you know. Start with something that you can do and get some wins under your belt, and that will give you the energy and the momentum to do more. So we get big results by doing small, manageable tasks until it's done. And we can do the next screen. Thank you, Bucky. So let's talk about your perfect average day. We've looked at what to give up. We've looked at some small steps. So just play the game with me for a moment. You can close your eyes if you like, but this is your, and we're playing with the words, your perfect average day. Why are we going for a perfect average day? Because we don't want our lives to be a 24-hour highlight that it takes us years to get there and is never repeated. We want to get to a form of lifestyle that we're content with, that we know is within our calling and the destiny that God has given us. So what does that look like? So you could ask yourself these questions. What time do you wake up on your perfect average day? And then once you've woken up and what do you do once you're awake on your perfect average day? Do you kiss your beautiful spouse? Do you open the windows and then head to the beach or forest to think and to plan? Do you give thanks to God for all that you've been given? How do you start your perfect average day? And once we've got these in, next slide, please. We are now awake, and now we have to decide what we're going to do with our perfect average day. Do we visit the office? Do we work on our book? Do we visit our client? Do we work with the local people to establish fresh water in a village? What do we do with our day?
Do we need to
and start to think about this? And yeah, you don't have to answer now. You can these are to provoke thinking, because what we're tempted to do is to say, well, I wake up when I feel like it. Okay, that's good for you. I go down and the maid makes me breakfast and I walk out to the pool, and because we're busy and perhaps we're overtired, we get slightly delusional about where it is we want to go. And Jim Carrey, he made this incredible quote, and I can't quote it word perfectly, but it's pretty well along these lines. He said this, he said, I wish that everybody in the world could have everything they've ever wanted and everything they've ever dreamed of, so that they could understand that that's not it. Isn't that an amazing, for somebody, you know, he walks around all those years with a check he'd written to himself for $1 million in his wallet, you know, battled against the odds, and eventually he got to what, you know, the success he wanted, and he's made his millions, and he's known the world over. And what did he find when he got there? Oh, it's not what I was expecting. So we want a perfect average day. Sometimes the perfect average day is, and I love to do this every now and again. My wife and I love to go away somewhere to an all-inclusive hotel. It doesn't have to be posh. It doesn't have to be 5-star. And we take our books, we go and sit by the pool, and we read all day. We'll have a drink together. We'll go for a walk together. And we need that sometimes, but we do not want to live there. So our perfect average day is strengthened by what it is we want to do with our lives. If you could bring the next slide up, please, Bucky.
Okay.
Because how we spend our days is how we spend our lives. Now, how obvious does that sound? But if you go through it again, it's like, oh yeah, how we spend our days is how we spend our lives. I'm 53 years old. I'm 54 in May. And I am now, I think I can honestly say I understand life is short. Because 3 weeks ago, I was only 21. You know, my eldest is now 30. I've got 4 grandchildren. You think, where did that go? And one day I've got to give an account. I've got to stand up and I've got to say, this is what I did with the life you gave me. And how we spend our days is how we spend our lives. So be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you dream for. Yeah, sure, live by the beach. Go for walks in the woods. Kiss your lovely spouse. Do all those things. But let's make sure that we are using our lives. Now, what do you want to do today? What is it that gets your motor running? And I'd imagine for you that, like everyone else, there's more than one thing. You see, I want to spend some of my days in the front row on a roller coaster. Not everybody's cup of tea, but I love it. I want to spend some of my days walking in the hills and looking at fantastic views because I really, really like doing that. But you know, I also want to spend some of my days making a difference for others. You know, that's my biggest buzz. Hearing you guys say that you were helped by the course that Bookie arranged last year. Oh, I can't tell you, you made my day. You really, really did. Because for me, that's the biggest kick. That to me, whilst I need to make money and I need to pay my bills like everyone else, you know, if I have to choose, I'll go for helping people. So once we've decided what it is we want, where it is we want to go, now we can start setting goals, and we can get through this. We are going to run over, but not by much. We need to make sure our goals are smart. We want smart goals, and you can see the acrostic in front of you there. Our goals need to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timed. And we'll spend the rest of our time talking about this. So if we go to the next page, specific. What, why, who, where, and which. So what is it you want to do? Why do you want to do it? If there's not a big enough why, you won't do it. Who's it for? Who are you going to do it with? Where is it going to happen? And which one is it going to be? Be specific. So don't say, I want to lose weight this year. Say how much. Be very specific. Set yourself, you know, because if you're not specific and you don't set a specific target, you can't measure. Because we need to measure. And this is where I used to fail with my goals. Even last year, I goofed up because I didn't fulfill all of these. I set out to lose this weight last January, and I got to August, and I think I lost about 6 pounds or something, and I was thinking, this is not going well. This is not how it should be. So I got my game on, and you know, now I've lost 3.5 stone. But doing that, it's every single one of these. So it's got to be specific. It's got to be measurable. I need to be making this much extra a year, this much extra a month. Okay, where are you at on that? Well, I needed £500. I'm now on 150. Fantastic. Well done. What did you do to get that 150? Because if you do it again, you have 300. But I can measure it. It's got to be, you've got to be able to see the progress you've made. It needs to be attainable. You see, humans can't fly. You know, you say, my goal this year is to fly like Superman. It's not going to happen. See a therapist. But you can get a pilot's license. You know, perhaps you can take up hang gliding, whatever it is. It's got to be attainable. So it may be that you can't hit your whole goal in 12 months. Maybe it's going to be a 2-year, 3-year, 5-year, 10-year project. But you can start it today. It's got to be relevant. It's got to be rooted in your passions and your why. You know, I look at some of the things I understand, and I look at some of the business people I work with, and I've spoken to business people, and sometimes, you know, you can make an adjustment in their business and it's worth hundreds and hundreds of thousands to them. But I've never become myself. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not wealthy. Why? Because it's just not a passion for me. You know, my passion is connecting, and my wife would like it, and I'm making more money now. We're going to do that. But if you come to me and say, Mark, I've got a plan for you to make 10 million if you'll do this, nah, just doesn't get me excited. But you say, hey Mark, we're going to go out and we're going to establish this. It's going to affect these people this way, and these kids aren't getting educated, but they're going to be. And now everything starts going, and I come alive, because that's me. It might not be you, but what is relevant to you? Set your goals goals in line with who you are, what your strengths are, what your passions are. And then make it timed. Put a deadline on it, because the deadline brings in accountability and self-honesty. And this is why I didn't lose the weight to start with. I didn't put myself in a position of accountability, and I wasn't completely honest with myself. And so I failed. It's not rocket science. And what I've done now is I've done all of those, and I'm seeing the progress that I desire. Write your goals. So if I look around my desk, here it is. I've got a bit of paper in front of me, and I keep writing and rewriting mine. I've got some of my goals written in front of me on some paper in my desk. So the Chinese proverb says, I hear and I forget. I see and I remember. I write and I understand. And it may be some of the goals we have in our heads, when we see them on paper, we realize they're just unrealistic. But we could go for something more realistic. Next slide, please, Bucky. And then when we have our big goals, we break them into smaller ones. So again, if I could just carry on using the weight loss as an example, don't try and lose 3 stone in 1 month. Aim at losing 1 or 2 pounds a week. How do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. I was messing around with some young people recently, and I said, yeah, I've eaten more than a cow. And they sort of look at you, what do you mean? You've eaten a whole cow? Oh, way more than 1, easy. And I said, how did you do it? I said, I just have minced beef 3 or 4 times a week for 40 years. You know, you eat a cow. We're back on the time thing. I think there's a theme there. So we just do it 1 bit at a time, 1 bite at a time. And as you take that step, you can enjoy it, you can celebrate it, you can congratulate yourself. And I realize I'm talking to some very clever people here. You know, some of you got your masters, you've done your degrees and things like that. When did you get your degree? It wasn't the day you went with the mortarboard on your head. You got that degree every time you didn't go out, you stayed in and you worked. You got that degree when you got up early to get that paper in on time. You got that degree when you were burning the midnight oil on occasions to get through the material. You see, when they awarded you, that was just the evidence of what you'd already done. And so just keep taking those small steps, you know. And you've all heard Benjamin Franklin's quote, if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. So, you know, if you haven't done some goals yet for this year, think carefully, think about what you really want, get them on paper, maybe stick them on the wall, or maybe just have them in note form on your desk, but keep them in front of yourself. Next one, please, Bucky. Bucky, sorry, I heard today how to pronounce your name properly. Thomas Jefferson. I used to be such an early bird. I find it so much harder now. The sun has not caught me in bed for 50 years. What does that mean? He got up early. Do your goals as early as possible. You know, in your day, if you're studying, if you're wanting to increase in knowledge, it is worth getting up 45 minutes early and spending that 30 minutes or so of that reading before you go to work, before you start your day. Get them in soon. It's just a practical thing that can help there. Next slide, please, Bookie. Here's the accountability one. This is where I found it's really helped me. Tell others your goals. You know, Stephen Covey says, accountability breeds responsibility. So, you know, just say to people, this is my goal this year. You know, you can ask me about it.
Mark.
Yeah.
Sorry to jump in on you here. So I'm Nigerian, right? I always like to say I am anyway. I am. But so there are some people who are dream killers. So share your goals by all means with the right people. There's some people you're going to share your goals with who are going to tell you, I don't think it's a very good idea. And if you're not strong enough at that point in time, okay, let me give an example. In 1997,
no, I get you.
Yeah, I had a project to do, a school project, and my professor, who's American trained, and he's just an awesome, fantastic man. He told me that nobody will build a shopping center in Lekki, and my design was for a shopping center in Lekki. That was 1997, And so I became depressed, and I was crying, and I was miserable, and I didn't put my best into my final year project and thesis, and I got a C, right? In that, because I had been told by my professor, who I respect, and I still respect, that nobody wants a shopping center in Lekki. It was a new area and was mostly residential. Well, now, Mark, there are dozens of shopping centers in Lekki. Yeah? And later on, God was good to me. I won a design competition for a shopping center design in another part of Lagos. So my confidence was restored, but I honestly believed nobody wanted a shopping center in Lekki. Yes, so there are people that you're going to share your goals with. Like now, I've told a couple of people close to me that I want to do the course you did because I've learned so much from you, and I think it's a great idea. Guess what? One of them told me I needed to see a shrink. Yes? I'm not joking, Mark. There's some people who are going to kill that goal. Unless you are strong like Buki or yourself, some people are going to kill those goals for you, even before you start on them. Yeah?
You have to be careful about who you tell. Jesus said, don't cast your pearls before swine. And there are people, I don't tell them what's going on in my life because I don't want to know. They say, well, let me tell you what I think about it. No, because I don't want to know what you think. So I'm still, I'm choosy, but I've learned the power of when you have a group of people who care about you and are that, they are keen for your success. These are the ones you confide in. These are the ones that you say, this is my goal. And I'd like you, time to time, just ask me about it. Ask how I'm getting on, or using the weight loss thing. Get in a group of people who all want the same goal. But you definitely have to be smart because there are people who will just pour cold water on it, and some of them it's their ministry. They just have the gift of destroying dreams, and those aren't the people we want to hang out with.
And Kemi, to add to that, I actually echo what you said. I mean, he's absolutely spot on. But, you did say something like, oh, strong like Buki. I might appear to be strong, but deep down, you still have your doubts and all of that. And as Mark just said, you need people that would actually support that dream, that goal. That is why we're here today. Mark is actually supporting me. So you share your goals with people that will motivate you, and from the onset, obviously, it will cast you down when you tell some people, especially people that are super close to you. I'm talking, it could even be your spouse, and he's saying, "Why are you wasting money? Why are you wasting your time? Why are you actually doing this?" So you need to search your why. If you don't have a passion, if you don't have the drive, if you're not, like Mark said, it doesn't light you up, then it's very easy for you to drop it, and perhaps it might be the best thing to do, because maybe it's not for you. So there's so many angles we can look at it. And my friend Aji, she's on the call now. She's a leader of a women group called Servi Women's Circle. I mean, she set up something called accountability partner. So if once you're accountable to somebody, it's very hard for you to drop that idea, because then they'll keep checking on you. How far have you done with this? But it has to be people with good intention, people that can support you, that they see what you see, they saw that passion in you, they believe in you. If someone doesn't believe in you, there's nothing you can do. They'll keep pushing it down.
Absolutely.
Yes. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Who's somebody talking? Go on.
Go for it.
What I wanted to just add on is, Buki, what you've said is really correct. But I think Marcus summed it up by saying you must ensure that the people whom you share this dream or this vision with are people with the same goal. That's the only way we can speak the same language or get the same kind of energy and enthusiasm to sort of move forward. So it's almost having that wisdom to see or to know that these are the people that I, will connect with, and people who understand my vision and my dream, and also help me to build or to take the next step towards achieving my goal. Yeah, that's very important. Yeah.
Thank you.
Quick comment.
Yes.
Just a quick comment. One thing that I've found quite useful with accountability is every one of us have a friend or a family member that we always tell all our good news to. The very first person that comes to our mind when something good happens to us, that is our accountability partner. Most of the time, we do not label the person, we do not label them accountability partner, but that's what they really are. So if we have somebody in our life that we actually always tell our good news to, it is because we know that they will celebrate with us, and they have always been there to encourage us. So that is your accountability partner, and I'm sure everybody has somebody, one person like that in their life.
That's good. That is good. And sometimes I know the people who've helped me the most, we may have our goals and dreams may vary, but there's an essence or an energy that is the same, and they're not intimidated by things that we want to achieve. They celebrate our success rather than be intimidated. Sometimes when people feel bad about themselves and they haven't got a good vision for the future, they feel better by stopping you having one. And so we're not to be cruel or unkind to these people, but we don't believe their report. Do not make other people's dysfunctional thinking the ceiling on your life. We can't do that.
Yes.
Good conversation. I'm going to drive it on because I'm very aware that we are over time, but we're near there. So just some things to do here. We need to use positive language in our goals, and that really does fit what we're talking about, doesn't it? There's a huge truth here, and I would suggest you go back to this. Jim Rohn says, the major reason for setting a goal is for what it makes of you to accomplish it. What it makes of you will always be the far greater value than what you get. Paul Martinelli, he's the CEO of the John Maxwell team, and he says it's not so much about making the next million that excites me. He says it's what making the next million makes me, and it's the growth that comes in the process. So when we set this goal that we haven't yet achieved, I've got to grow. I've got to become something I'm not to do that, and that's the biggest payback. That's the best thing that can come back to us. We need to set goals in more than one area. Be ambitious. You can always change and adjust along the way. But Michelangelo said the greatest danger for most of us is not that our aim is too high and we miss it, but that it's too low and we reach it. And that's the balance. Truth is so often opposites in tension with each other. Is aim too high, you'll get demotivated and you'll give up. But aim too low, you'll get it too quick and you won't become everything you can be. So it's getting that wisdom to know, okay, I can reach that, I can do that, but I've really got to stretch. And then you get out your comfort zone, you get it, and then what do? You stretch again. But we don't try and do it all in one stretch. Please, Bucky, next slide.
So when you said in more than one area, you mean like financial goal, career goals, health goals?
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. So if I look at the piece of paper in front of me right now, what have I got? So I've got my body weight goal by July. I've got a fitness goal for next December. I've got a finance goal for September, and I've got a ministry goal that I want to achieve by December. So I've got these different things laid out here, and then I'm noting underneath actually the mechanism that I'm going to use to get there. What is it that I'm going to do to get that? Because where I went wrong in the past was I would just say I want this, and you get some superstitious preaching and that, and you just envision it. No, you start with envision it, and then you have to do it. Write the vision, make it plain, so that he who sees it may run with it. That running, that's the practical doing of it. And so I've written it down, and I'm actually, in my notes here, I've got specifically the mechanism that I'm going to use to see that progress. And if you can't identify how to get there, write it down anyway, but keep meditating, keep praying, keep studying, and the very fact that you think about it, that you've got it written down, that will send your subconscious to work. It will send you will start to bring it up in prayer, and then you'll start to get the answers. So for me, these are some things I've been thinking about a while. Two of them are really, really clear. I know exactly what I'm supposed to do, and I am supremely confident. You know, it's just an inevitability. I'm already seeing progress. I know I'm going to get there. One of them is fairly clear, but I'm still working through some of the hows, but I'm seeing progress. And then another one, well, there's not much of a how to there. There's just one thing that I can do at the moment, and so that's still quite embryonic. And very often with the embryonic ones, those are the ones you have to protect the most. So someone can come to me and say, Mark, I do not believe you're going to lose that other 3 stone by July this year. I don't care what you believe. I just don't care, because I've come this far. I know what I did to get this far. So if I do it again, I'll get there. So the only person who can mess this up is me. But there's another one here. I'm just not going to tell anybody yet, because it's too embryonic. It's not formed properly in me. It's too vulnerable. So just as an aside there, you got 3 vital keys. Well done, Bookie, for hurrying me along. Say it, show it, and support it. So we've got our lifestyle as a dream. We've got some practical goals there. So now we're going to watch our language. And if we go to the next slide, we'll unpack these 3 things: say it, show it, and support it. You do the next slide, please, Bookie. Great. Our language creates feelings that direct action. So, oh, this is so hard. I don't like this. I don't want to do this anymore. I really don't believe I'm going to make it anyway. I don't know why I bothered. I've tried it every year for the last 9 years. It's never worked. There's no energy being created. You know, you're not. You know what? I've definitely failed at the past in this, but that has brought me one step closer to seeing this thing fulfilled. I am going for it. Other people have done it. They've succeeded. They didn't. They're not rocket scientists. They got out there. They did it. You know what? I can do the same. No one gets anywhere by giving up. And so your language then starts to, and this is literal physiological change, starts to create certain feelings, and then feelings are what drive our action. And our actions ultimately reveal what we believe. So we all know the book of James, that faith without works is dead. Faith is meaningless without corresponding actions. You know, so if I say I follow Jesus, people need to see that in my life. If I have to keep telling them, there's a good chance I'm not doing it. Well, once our goals get down into the believer level, into where we believe, that makes that we will then follow the actions. And then the last one, the support, is our attitude. Is go for that positive attitude. Our attitude will always determine our altitude. It is the decider. A good attitude without the proper study is no good. But the proper study with the wrong attitude is still no good. So choose what you say, choose what you believe, choose what you feel. That's really hard sometimes. Feelings are subconscious thoughts that you can't articulate coming into your body. And so that can take a time, but work on those things. And then if our goals come from our passions and beliefs, if we make them realistic and achievable, then we will shut the door to self-doubt and fear. And once that door is shut, your success is inevitable. You know, it's so what you say, what you believe, what you feel, your language, your attitude, they're absolutely key. Thank you, Bookie. Next one. And that's it. We are through. Congratulations, you survived it. Over to you, Bookie.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, and I hope it's been good so far. So good. Sorry we overran a bit, but I think it was quite critical that we covered everything in the slide. I enjoyed every bit of it, and thank you very much, Mark, for your time, for your expertise, for always being there to support me. And I don't know how to thank you enough. Do we have any questions in the house following all the things we've gone through today?
Bookie, how can you and Mark make this more like so? I'm not talking about when you start doing the structured pain sessions, but like a session like this has been so useful. And I know there's some people who would say, when eventually I tell them that I attended, they'll be like, oh, and it happened in November. Oh, you should have sent us out reminders just before, or you should have called us, or you should have given us enough notice. So maybe one day going down the line, you guys may want to consider doing, what's it called? A live session on Facebook or some other media. So you are there and we can like share it through something as simple as Facebook that, oh, Buki and Mark are on now, do log in. But then it's their loss, I guess. But I just want everybody to benefit from what I have learned as well.
Thank you, Kemi. That's very good. Thank you. Take that on board. Anyone else? Aji, I want to hear your voice.
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me, Buki?
Hi. Yes, we can.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it anyway. I mean, as usual, like the preview, I mean, the one you did last year is quite spot on. And what Mark did say in terms of, I mean, habits of successful people, really, you know, it's all spot on. I mean, I really don't, nothing to add. And I'm just wondering, how would you turn this into something that is profitable for both of you? Because the more money you make, the more people you can help, isn't it?
Wow.
Absolutely.
That's the business lady there. We need to consult you, Aji, don't we? Cool. So thank you very much. Does anyone else have anything to add before we call it?
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. That was really great.
Thank you.
Sometimes you know this stuff, but you forget, and you lose sight, and you go off track. So these are really, really great reminders. Keep you on your toes, and